How's it going? My name is Kainoa Sevigny. I am 23 years old. I currently work in construction as a construction surveyor. For me, I'm actually a kingdom kid, meaning that I was born into this church. And so for my story, I would say it started from when I was born. Funny thing, I was actually born on the mission trip from Maui. But I think cognitively, like my own choice, I started seeking after God when I was 13. I had the opportunity to go to the California LA camp, and this Santa Claus looking man came up to me and he asked me, who is Jesus? I was like, who is this fool? He doesn't know who Jesus is. What's up? So I was like, Jesus is Jesus. He was like, who is Jesus? I was like, come on, man. You never heard Jesus? Jesus is Jesus. He asked me last time. He's like, who is Jesus? And it took me a while, I realized. It took me a while to think and realize, respond with, oh, Jesus is the Son of God. And he gave me a scripture at that time, and he walked away. And for me, I would mark that as the beginning of my own choice to start seeking after God. I started doing my personal Bible studies because I realized I didn't know anything about God after all those years being raised in the church. And again, I think my relationship with Jesus, even though I was raised in the church and I knew all the answers, and I knew a lot of the history and the biblical stories and principles and characteristics, my relationship with him was like history class. You know George Washington, but you don't know the man himself. I chose to follow Jesus, and this is a deep story. I was 16 at the time, putting me almost 3 years into my own personal Bible studies. It wasn't clicking. I wasn't ready, and I didn't know exactly why. But I remember the time I was hanging out in my English class with some mates, and we were doing what a lot of high school guys do. We were just talking about women inappropriately, and at that time we didn't know, but there was this girl in our class who had experienced some form of trauma sexually. Later on, we ended up being in trouble. And her parents wanted to push charges against us as sexual offenders because of the things we were saying in class. And I remember at that time, I say it's funny because I got a call from my dad. And he's like, oh, how's your day going? You know my father, he's humorous in that manner. He's like, well, how's your day going? Like, oh, it's great, just finished class, into lunch. He's like, oh, well, your day's about to suck. And he dropped that bomb on me, and I was just hurt. I was very disappointed. I said, that was almost 3 years deep into my studies, and I realized in my studies and at church, I'm declaring and proclaiming Christ, and yet at school with my friends, I was proclaiming myself in the world. I remember opening my Bible, and the first things I flipped open, I did old school and that, and the page kind of flapped over. And it landed on Philippians 3. To this day, that's still my favorite scripture. Verse 7 talks about how everything compared to Christ is garbage. It literally says garbage, it's rubbish. What we gains from himself or losses for Christ. And what we gains for Christ or loss from self. He talks about wanting to participate in the resurrection and to know Christ fully. That spoke to me. I realized, one, I'm garbage. Everyone around me is garbage. And then the most polite way I could say that, and I realized that I'm a sinful man, and this world is not the world I want to be a part of. Christ is who I want to be a part of. Christ is the only thing valuable in my life. What I love most about Jesus, there's a lot. Obviously, his grace, but the one that has always stuck out to me in scriptures is his kindness and his love. I think of when Judas betrayed Christ. It has always blown my mind that Jesus is still able to look at Judas in his eyes with love and say, my friend. I've seen that play out a lot in my life. As I shared about my sin as a young adult, what pushed me to my studies. That is something that has always drawn me and attracted me to Christ, is that even in that terrible situation, the low point in my walk with God, he still looked at me with love and kindness. me my own goals. Number one would be to be faithful to the very end. I see myself as a warrior, and I just want to be a good warrior. I want to stand firm. I don't want to be walking around not with my sword in hand, not with my armor on. My dream for God's church, and I have always felt this passionately since I was a teenager, is to have a true culture of vulnerability. I've noticed in my own character and other characteristics of my fellow brothers and sisters, and also those who have fallen away, is that when we struggle, it's because we're having a lack of vulnerability a lot of times. And, why must I wait? Why must we wait till the conference, till teen camp, campus ministry retreat, till we're discovered of sin? And for me, I've always noticed one pinnacle thing was there's a huge focus on God, and vulnerability was skyrocketing at those moments. Now, for me, it's like, imagine just having that every week. And I think it would truly not only help us as disciples to be faithful and help each other, but it'll also attract, the lost to us as well, and mostly to God.